This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, 2 planes belonging to the Algerian Air Force loaded with humanitarian aid destined to the Gaza Strip have landed in the El Arish airport, Egypt, following the instructions of the President of the Republic, Abdelmadjid Tebboune. The World Central Kitchen non-governmental organization has said it suspends its operations in the region after 7 of its workers were killed in new airstrikes on the Gaza Strip, accusing the Israeli occupation of committing this crime. Syria has condemned the Israeli aggression against the Iranian consulate in Damascus, in which 11 people have been killed, when Iran has promised to retaliate. Hello and welcome on Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Smeni. In line with the instruction of the President of the Republic, Supreme Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, said that 2 planes belonging to the Algerian Air Force loaded with humanitarian aid estimated at 168 tons of food, medicines, medical equipment and tents intended for the Gaza Strip have landed in the El Arish airport in Egypt. A communique released by the Ministry of National Defense said the aid provided by the Algerian Red Crescent will later be funneled to the Gaza Strip via the Rafah crossing point. It added that the humanitarian aid were loaded from the Boufarik air base. This operation once again reflects the commitment of Algeria, officials and people in favor of an unconditional and unlimited solidarity with the brotherly Palestinian people confronted by the continuing aggression perpetrated by the occupying forces. The World Central Kitchen non-governmental organization has said it suspends its operations in the region after 7 of its workers were killed in new airstrikes on the Gaza Strip. The US-based organization said it was devastated by the targeted attack it blamed on Israel, during which nationals from Australia, Poland and the United Kingdom and the occupied Palestinian territories were killed. Spain condemned it as it put it a brutal attack that was denounced by Australia as fully unacceptable, whereas Poland and the United Kingdom called for explanations. The attack triggered many reactions, notably by China, which expressed shock at a time when the EU diplomacy chief called for the opening as soon as possible of an inquiry. A similar request was made by the spokesman of the US National Security, who urged the Israeli government to investigate the attack. The vice president of Médecins Sans Frontières denounced the Israeli strikes as a message conveyed by the Israeli army and aimed at preventing the humanitarian workers from investing or intervening on the ground. Meanwhile, the Israeli army has pursued its bombardments of the Gaza Strip, killing more than 70 people and wounding over 100 others over the past 24 hours. The attacks targeted notably the central region of El Balah, as well as the densely populated town of Khan Yunis in the central part of the territory. More than 17 hectares of land have been spoliated by the Israeli occupation in the Arab zone of El Tamra, east of Bethlehem, as part of the expansionist plans, reported the Palestinian news agency Wafa. The Palestinian press agency added that the director of the Office of the Commission of Resistance Against the Wall and Colonization in Bethlehem, Younes Arar, indicated that this spoliation was the third under the same pretexts since the beginning of this year, bringing to 1,100 hectares of land the total area spoliated by the occupation in the governorates of occupied east of Jerusalem, Nablus and Bethlehem. Now with me here in the studio, Majid Mila, to tell us more about today's news. Hello, Mila.
Hello, Jamal. Indeed, in Syria, at least 11 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes against the Iranian consulate building in Damascus. The Syrian Defense Ministry said the Israeli occupation forces launched airstrikes from the occupied Syrian Golan. All those who were inside the building were either killed or injured in the airstrikes. In a statement broadcast on the Iranian media, the ambassador of Iran to Syria said the consulate was targeted by 6 missiles fired by F-35 fighters. The Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs, for his part, called on the international community to provide a serious response to the Israeli attack. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi has said that the strikes perpetrated by the Israeli forces killing 7 members of Iran's Revolutionary Guards in Damascus will not remain without retaliation. Asya Bikar has more details.
President Raisi condemned the attack, describing it as an inhuman, aggressive and despicable act of invasion that blatantly violates international law. The Iranian president said the Israeli occupation has included indiscriminate assassinations on its agenda after having suffered repeated defeats and failures by the fighters of the resistance front. President Raisi said the Israeli occupation will never achieve her sinister goals with such inhuman means. Let's recall that 11 people were killed, including 7 Iranian Revolutionary Guards, in an Israeli raid that targeted the consulate of the Iranian embassy in Damascus, Syria. Tehran vowed to retaliate for the Israeli attack. Meanwhile, Iran's mission to the United Nations said the Israeli strike against the consulate of Iran in Damascus was a flagrant violation of the United Nations Charter, international law, and the founding principle of the inviolability of diplomatic and consular premises. It added that the strike was a significant threat to regional peace and security, urging the UN Security Council to condemn the attack. Meanwhile, the Russian Foreign Ministry condemned the unacceptable attack against the consulate of the Iranian embassy in Damascus, accusing the Israeli occupation of being behind it. Russia called on the Israeli occupation to stop its provocative acts of armed violence in Syria and other neighboring countries, warning against their extremely dangerous consequences on the region. And the European Union has called for restraint after the attack on the Iranian diplomatic building in Damascus blamed on the Israeli occupation. The spokesman of the European Union diplomacy chief, Peter Stano, said amid the extremely tense regional situation, it is of the utmost importance to show restraint as a further escalation in the region is in no one's interest, as he put it.
The Syrian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Faisal al-Maqdadi, has strongly condemned the Israeli aggression against the Iranian consulate in Damascus, stressing that the Israeli occupation will not be able to affect relations between Iran and Syria. In a statement to press during his visit to the Iranian embassy in Damascus, Syria's diplomacy chief said the Israeli occupation is the symbol of terrorism in the world. He stressed that the massacres committed by the Israelis, particularly in Gaza, confirm that they have no humanity as they attack people wherever they find them, which is also the case of those who support the Israeli occupier, particularly the United States, as he put it. He added that targeting embassies is banned by international law. The Spanish left-wing political party Podemos has reaffirmed his support for United Nations efforts to organize a referendum on self-determination in Western Sahara, rejecting the idea of the Socialist Party to comply with the interests of other countries. Mariam Barshi has the details.
Members of the Basque Parliament and the Podemos party, Leticia Jimenez, Isa González and Miren Gorrotxategi, as well as the spokeswoman of Vitoria-Gasteiz whole city, Mrs. Garbin Ruiz, recently met representative of the Sahrawi Association in the Basque Country in Vitoria-Gasteiz, capital of the province of Álava. According to a Podemos press release, during the meeting, Mrs. Gorrotxategi described as inadmissible what the Spanish government is doing by giving priority to the interest of the Moroccan monarchy, betraying the Sahrawi people who are being used as a bargaining chip. She recalled her support with the UN's position, which recognizes the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination, saying their ideals as a left-wing party would never change, whether in the opposition or in the government. For his part, a member of the association, Files de Sagia El Hamra and Rio de Oro, Bibeno Mohamed Fadel, said he greatly appreciated Podemos' invitation to make the Sahrawi cause more visible, stressing that the Sahrawi people have been deprived of their land for 49 years, illegally occupied by Morocco. He added that more than 9 million anti-personnel mines divided their territory, where those who were trapped under the Moroccan colonial yoke continue to suffer rape, extortion, imprisonment and execution. Bibeno Mohamed Fadel called on all political parties, especially Podemos, to continue supporting the Sahrawi cause and fighting with them, hand in hand, to liberate Western Sahara.
The Polisario Front's representative in Spain, Abdullah Arabi, has warned the Spanish public company Anair, in charge of air navigation management in Spain, against the violation of international law in Western Sahara after the use of a false map. In a letter addressed to the president of the Spanish company, Mr. Arabi has stressed the violation of international law and the failure to respect the separate status of Western Sahara from the territory of Morocco in the maps used in its applications. Mr. Arabi also pointed out that not correcting the maps used by the company meant ignoring the existing border between Western Sahara and Morocco, a border recognized by the United Nations, regional and international organizations and courts. Back to you, Jamal.
Thank you, Majid. Now, Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has been sworn in a ceremony at the lower house of parliament, starting his third mandate as president of Egypt. President Sisi won the presidential election last December, winning 89.6% of the votes against 3 other candidates. His new mandate, which starts tomorrow Wednesday for a period of 6 years, is supposed to be the last according to the Egyptian constitution. The Egyptian President Sisi took the oath before the deputies gathered at the headquarters of parliament in the new administrative capital that he had built east of Cairo. The event also marks the inauguration of this new capital. This is Radio Algeria International. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello and welcome to this new edition of your weekly program, The Health Magazine. The holy fasting month of Ramadan is an opportunity for Muslims around the world to purify their mind and take care of their bodies by eating healthy food and working out to enjoy good health. Suhoor is an important part of the fasting day. Anas ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "Eat suhoor, for in suhoor there is blessing." This hadith on suhoor indicates that the fasting person is commanded to eat suhoor because there is a great deal of goodness and blessing, both spiritual and worldly, in it. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, mentioned the blessing so as to encourage us to eat suhoor. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "Whoever wants to fast, let him eat something for suhoor." The command here is in the sense of it being mustahab, not obligatory, based on the fact that the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and his companions observed continual fasts. Fasting 2 or more days without breaking the fast in between the fasting night and day. Blessings of suhoor. There is a great deal of blessing in suhoor, which includes benefit both in this world and the hereafter. These blessings include the following. It gives strength for worship and help one to obey Allah during the day by praying, reading Quran, and remembering Allah. One who is hungry may become lazy in worship, just as he may become lazy in his daily work. This is something that is well known. Suhoor wards off the bad attitude that may be provoked by hunger, so the one who eats suhoor will be in a good mood and will interact well with others. The one who eats suhoor will be encouraged to fast more, because fasting is less difficult for the one who eats suhoor, so he will be encouraged to fast and it will not be so difficult for him. Eating suhoor is following the sunnah. So if the person who eats suhoor has the intention of obeying the command of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and following his example, then the suhoor is an act of worship, so he will be rewarded for it accordingly. If he intends thereby to gain physical strength for fasting and praying qiyam, he will be rewarded according to that. The person who eats suhoor gets up at the end of the night to remember Allah, make dua and pray, for that is when prayers are answered, and it is the time when Allah and angels sent blessings upon those who eat suhoor. By eating suhoor, one differs from the people of the book. The Muslim is required to avoid imitating them. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, the difference between our fasting and the fasting of the people of the book is eating suhoor. Another blessing of suhoor is praying Fajr in congregation at the proper time. Hence you see that there are more worshippers praying Fajr in Ramadan than in other months because they have gotten up for suhoor. The fasting person should be keen to eat suhoor, and he should not miss it because he feels too sleepy or for any other reason. He should be easygoing when he is woken for suhoor and in a good mood, happy to be following the command of the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and keen to attain its goodness and barakah blessing. Because our Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, affirmed the importance of suhoor and enjoyed it, and explained that it is the symbol of Muslims fasting that differentiates their fasting from that of the people of the book, and he told us not to omit suhoor. Suhoor may be done by means of the least amount of food or drink that a person consumes, if it does not have to be any specific kind of food. It was narrated that Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, said, the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, the best suhoor for the believer is dates. It was narrated that Abu Sa'id al-Khudri said, the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, suhoor is a blessed meal, so do not omit it. Even if one of you only takes a sip of water, for Allah and His angels send blessings on those who eat suhoor. The best time for suhoor, Zayd ibn Thabit, may Allah be pleased with him, said, we ate suhoor with the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, then he went to pray. I asked, how long was there between the adhan and suhoor? He said, as long as it takes to recite 50 verses. This hadith indicates that it is mustahab to delay suhoor until just before Fajr. Between the time when the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Zayd ibn Thabit, may Allah be pleased with him, finished their suhoor and started to pray, was the amount of time it took to recite 50 verses of the Quran at a moderate pace, neither fast nor slow. This indicates that the time for prayer is close to the time of stopping eating and drinking. What is meant by the adhan here is the iqama, which is called adhan because it is an announcement that the prayer is about to begin. It was narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari that it was said to Anas, the narrator of the hadith, how much time was there between their finishing their suhoor and starting to pray. He said, as long as it takes for a man to recite 50 verses. Hastening to eat suhoor halfway through the night is permissible, but it is contrary to the sunnah. Suhoor is so called because it happens at the time of sahar, which is the end of the night. If a person eats suhoor halfway through the night, he may miss out on Fajr prayer because sleep may overwhelm him. Moreover, delaying suhoor is kinder to the fasting person and gives him more energy, because one of the aims of suhoor is to give physical strength for fasting and to conserve one's energy, so it is wise to delay it. The fasting person should follow the Prophet's example in this matter and should not eat suhoor early. Another etiquette for fasting that was stated by the scholars is that the fasting person should not be extravagant in his suhoor and should not fill his stomach with food. Rather, he should eat a moderate amount, because a person does not fill any worse vessel than his stomach. If he eats his fill at the time of suhoor, there will not be any use until dhuhr time, because eating a large amount makes a person feel lazy and listless. The words of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, the best suhoor for the believer is dates, points to this meaning because dates, in addition to their high nutritional value, are also light on the stomach and easily digested. If eating one's fill is also accompanied by staying up late and sleeping during the day, the purpose of fasting is also lost, and Allah is the one whose help we seek. And with this, we come to the end of this week's edition of your program, The Health Magazine. Do join us next week for another subject related to the holy fasting month of Ramadan.